let's look at the global chessboard. Who's the big loser in all this? It's actually not Iran, it's China, because China gets most of their oil from Iran. When you look at, okay, where do Iranian exports go? They go mostly to China. So now we've got we, meaning the U.S., have our hand on the spigot. Is, hey, China, you know those rare earth magnets that you weren't shipping to us anymore? Well, how does it feel if we turn the oil off? Now, how do you feel? Maybe all of a sudden the rare earth magnets start coming through for our electronics and our defense systems, and we say to China, okay, we'll let you have the Iranian oil. By the way, so there'll be a little toll charge there. We're going to manage the money. We're not going to let that flow freely. But when we control Iranian oil, and we're getting closer to that point, we have China by the throat.
In today's news recap, silver down 10%, gold down 3.5%. Precious metals extended their losses on Tuesday, with silver plunging by more than 10% as investors turn to other safe haven assets like government bonds amid the growing uncertainty caused by the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. Silver tumbled by 10.14% to go for $80.89 per ounce, while gold fell by 3.59% to $5,129.55. Meanwhile, platinum dropped by 5.96% to $2,166.26, while palladium declined by 3.51% to $1,695.57. Now, smash the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and make sure you check goldsilverstacks.com to get the Stacker's Handbook, the ultimate guide to trade the gold and silver ratio and get more ounces without relying on market commentators. Link in pinned comment. Let's get back into the episode.
It's on or before March 10th. So technically correct, but I thought it came a little sooner than I expected. But March 10th to me was an outside date. The original battle plan, we've learned this after the fact, of course, the original battle plan was to attack on March 2nd, which was today. But so the question is, why did they attack on February 27th, a couple days ahead of that original March 2nd day, which was secret at the time? The answer is that intelligence from the CIA and Mossad, Israeli intelligence, found that the entire leadership were all in one place. And that's extraordinary. They were meeting, but say who's in the meeting? Well, the Ayatollah, the head of the defense minister, the head of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, the chief of the general staff, other mullahs, etc. They were meeting, and there were two separate meetings in a couple different locations, but the entire leadership was in basically two places, but they identified them. And this was on February 27th, of last Friday night, our time. It was the target set was too rich to pass up. They went ahead several days ahead of schedule, and they actually attacked in broad daylight. So it was late. It was Friday night our time, it's in New York time, but it was Saturday morning Iranian time. Usually you don't attack in broad daylight. You do everything at night for obvious reasons. But they did. They said, we can't miss this opportunity. Now, why they were all in one place, who knows? Well, I mean, they were trying to figure out how to respond to Trump. They thought they were in a negotiation. They didn't understand that they were the targets. Now, Trump said, and this was leaked from the Situation Room about a week earlier, that this was going to be a decapitation strike. Now, decapitation strike means you wipe out the leadership. You don't try to kill, thousands of troops. They are absolutely destroying weapons and factories. We can talk a little bit more about that. That's going to go on for a while. But a decapitation strike means you kill the leaders of the military, the clerics, and the civilian government, and then basically throw the place into chaos. Now, Trump's hope was that the Iranian people would rise up and pick new leaders. And, the U.S. does not want to get involved in nation building. We had enough fun in Iraq. I mean, that was a disaster for a lot of reasons. Same thing in Afghanistan. It's one thing to go after terrorists. It's another thing to try to rebuild a country. Afghanistan has never been a country. It's a bunch of tribes, basically. So we're not going to get involved in the nation building business in Iran. But regime change in the sense of a decapitation strike is what we wanted. Well, when intelligence learned, because they've been tracking these leaders, that they were all in one place, they said, let's go, here's our chance. And they did, and it was actually Israeli bombers that attacked the two sites, but the U.S. and Israel are in this together, of course, and it was successful. I mean, you can find the list of 40, but when you get the defense minister, the head of the Iran Revolutionary Guard Corps, the supreme leader, which was the Ayatollah Khomeini, and some of his family members. You know, if you kill Khomeini, does the what's called the Council of Experts turn and say, okay, we'll take, there's some talk about his grandson. I mean, Khomeini was 87 years old, but his grandson was in his 50s. Do we make him the new leader? Well, they got him too. Now, I'm not saying they won't come up with somebody. They will. They're already going through that process. But the reason for the particular date, a couple days ahead of the plan and a week ahead of my outside date, was because they were all in one place. It was just too good to pass up.
In today's news recap, gold falls 4% as strong dollar and higher rate bets undercut safe haven demand. Spot gold prices fell on Tuesday, sliding more than 4% at one point, as some investors favored the dollar rather than gold as a safe haven from the impact of the U.S. Israeli air war on Iran, and as traders trimmed rate cut bets given inflation concerns. Spot gold was down 3.3% at $5,150 after falling to its lowest since February 20th earlier. The dollar is absolutely roaring away, as are U.S. Treasuries, and that's providing a strong headwind to gold and particularly silver, said independent analyst Ross Norman. Spot silver fell to $81.31 an ounce after climbing to a more than 4-week high on Monday. U.S. dollar rises to more than 1-month high. The U.S. dollar rose 0.9% to a more than 1-month high, while U.S. Treasury yields shot higher. A stronger U.S. currency typically makes dollar-denominated gold more expensive for buyers using other currencies, and higher yields raise the opportunity cost of holding the non-yielding metal. The Nasdaq led losses among U.S. stock index futures with a 2.3% drop on Tuesday. Now, like and subscribe to the channel, and make sure you check goldsilverstacks.com to get the Numismatics Handbook, the ultimate guide to dive into the world of numismatics. Very useful in this environment with multiple value plays like junk, silver coins. Link and pin comment, get your copy, and let's get back into the episode.
It depends on your goals, and candidly, the goals have been a little, other than okay, decapitation strike done, you did that, but what's your next move? In other words, and that Trump has not been crystal clear on that. So the conventional analysis was, Iran was moving towards a nuclear weapon. They had mastered uranium enrichment. They were stockpiling highly enriched uranium that you could use to build a weapon. They weren't that far away from having one, and you had to stop them. And Iran cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. That's a bad thing in general. But if you look at Israel, I mean, I've been to Israel from the Mount Hermon to the Dead Sea and below, and I've been through the West Bank and Palestinian territory and all that. It's small. I mean, it's the size of New Jersey. It's like driving from New York City to Cape May. I mean, it's just not that big, which means they don't have strategic depth. You look at Russia in World War II, the Wehrmacht, the German army got to the outskirts of Moscow, but it didn't stop Russia or the Soviet Union at the time. They had they moved their factories east, they moved their people east, they kept producing things, and they counterattacked. Same thing in the United States. We've never been invaded quite that way, but we do have strategic depth. Israel doesn't. One nuclear weapon in Tel Aviv, the whole country is over. So for them, it really is existential. Now, but here's the point. How close was Iran to having a nuclear weapon? Because enriched uranium is not the same as a weapon. Okay, it's you have to have it. It's a start, but then you have to basically weaponize that. You have to test it, and then if you want to put it on a missile, you have to miniaturize it, which is a whole other process. A lot of technology required there, and ballistic missiles is a rough ride. I mean, they're going up to the edge of space and they come back down again. You have to survive the re-entry. I'm saying that there's an enormous amount of technology and advanced engineering and physics getting from enriched uranium, which is just an element, it's a thing, to a weapon that you can put on a warhead and fire on a missile. How close was Iran to that? Not necessarily that close. That in my view would have been several more years. So they talked about nuclear weapons, but they talked about WMD in Iraq too, and they were completely wrong about that. So what was maybe the real reason? The real reason has to do with the fact that Iran has 10,000 ballistic missiles. They don't have nuclear warheads. They don't have a nuclear weapon. They do have the uranium, But they were getting to the point where they had so many missiles they could overwhelm Israel's Iron Dome air defenses, both in terms of how extensively the anti-missile batteries are deployed, number one, and how many missiles do you have? Like you load, they're anti-missiles, the missiles that shoot down other missiles. How many of them do you have? Well, you don't have an infinite supply. How many of them can you produce? Well, there are limits on that. So Israel was concerned that Iran was at the point where they could just send so many missiles that it would overwhelm the Iron Dome. And you're not talking about nuclear explosions, but just large ballistic explosions could wreak havoc in Israel. They were concerned about that. And there was also an element that, maybe the Iranian people are ready to rise up. There were some demonstrations a couple of months ago. Now, it looks like they might have killed, estimates vary, but they might have killed 5,000 protesters. So that's your Ayatollah for you. He kills 5,000 of his own people without blinking. So I think the nuclear weapon part there was more time for that. That was not imminent, but the idea that they were loading up, they had so many missiles, and that they were maybe ripe for regime change is probably more pertinent.
Do you agree with him? Will gold and silver continue going higher in Q1 2026? Or are we going to experience some sort of volatility to the downside moving forward? Post your honest opinion in the comments section down below. Share with us your opinion on our newest channel called Woman Stacker, and watch this video right here because you'll love it. I'll see you on the other side.